I want to honor the people who brought us all together today. George Floyd, a father, Breonna Taylor, a life-saving EMT on our front lines, Ahmaud Arbery, a son killed while jogging. I could go on and on. There's too many names. Violence against Black and brown people has been going on for a long time. Most of us are here because we're grieving and we yearn for community support to lift us up. With this grief, we can turn it into momentary action, into working toward true systemic change. But the fact that racism can finally be a family conversation like it is today gives me hope. Hope for a better future, one where there's less violence. I have law enforcement officers in my family. One of them is currently the commissioner for New York City Department of Corrections. I know that they, as many of the law enforcement officers across our country, are in the profession for the right reason. Compassion, dedication to duty, and the desire to ensure public safety. But even good officers work within a fundamentally flawed system. We have hard work to do as a country, a state, and a community to undo the impact of centuries of racism. Even the coronavirus pandemic is showing us how systemic racism impacts our communities, as we witness the disproportionate harm the virus is causing in communities of color. In Oregon, the Latinx community makes up 33% of the diagnosed cases, despite them only making up approximately 13% of our state's population. And nationwide, members of the Black community are dying at a far higher rate from coronavirus than other Americans. Institutional and structural racism has a substantial and pervasive bearing on people's lives, and it's our responsibility to face it. As a healthcare provider who advocates for her patients, and a state representative who advocates for justice, I will always stand up for the vulnerable members of our community. The dehumanization of Black and brown people in this country has caused more pain, violence, and death than we could ever fully quantify. From a public health perspective, it is slow motion violence that quietly eats away at the health of individuals and families. Sometimes, and often too often, it explodes into inescapable view, as it did recently with the killing of George Floyd and its aftermath. None of us should think about this problem as it's for others to deal with. We must work together to identify and correct our own biases. The structural maintenance of racism in our society is a fact. It is pervasive and continues to take American lives, and we must not look away. So as your state representative, I wanted to share what's happening on the state level. The Oregon Legislature People of Color Caucus called for 3 specific actions for police accountability. First, they're requesting that a bill from the last 2 sessions regarding law enforcement disciplinary actions that go to arbitration be included in any proposed policy bills as legislation moves forward. Second, they're requesting the consideration of a new legislative concept that would authorize and require the Attorney General to investigate and prosecute if the evidence dictates any death or serious physical injury resulting from the use of force by a law enforcement officer. And third, the People of Color Caucus is requesting that the House Judiciary Committee convene a bipartisan work group to recommend changes to the state's law regarding use of physical force or deadly physical force and making an arrest or preventing escape. Thanks for letting me share today, letting me be a part of this again. Sydney, thank you. We're going to take a moment of silence for 9 minutes, and then we're going to march in the community, walk in the community up the hill and back, so that we can show that we want to be warriors of change. Let's be strategic and persistent in what we want to see in our community and world. Thank you.